an economy. Liberals tend to want the economy to work the way they want it to work, and it doesn't work that way. They want to be able to impose a tax on a producer, and with the assumption the producer will just pay the tax from the producer's profit margin. That the producer will incrementally increase the price of their goods or services and pass the tax on to its final consumer. Or that the producer will pay its labor less. Just absorb. Well, that doesn't happen. When you impose a tax on a producer, you either hurt their consumers or hurt their laborers. It's one or the other. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. It's either naive or stupid to believe that you're just going to impose a tax. And guess what? Guess what the new tax is? The new tax coming out of the Senate Finance Committee is on companies that produce medical devices, because that'll bring down health care costs. 1-866-95-PATRIOT, 1-866-95-PATRIOT. Joe, Texas, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
How are you doing, Mr. Wilkow?
Fine, how are you?
I noticed that on your show, what makes you different than the other talk shows is that you actually break everything down intellectually.
Well, thank you.
So I've got an observation for you as far as from the liberal standpoint. In this country, there is a mindset and mindedness only among conservatives that somehow, some way, they're on the side of what's truthful, just, and the American way. That somehow, some way, they stand for what is Superman-ish about this country. And if you're a liberal, you somehow are on the bad side. Like, you're the bad aspect of this country. And that's not at all what is going on.
Well, Joe, hold on a second. And I will give you all the time to define your liberalism. But if we have a political party, liberal is not what liberals are. There's nothing liberating about being a liberal. If you're calling for greater control of our lives by the government, that's the opposite of liberation. All right? The modern-day liberal has nothing in common with the Jeffersonian concept of liberal and liberty. So if we have a political party that calls itself the Liberal Party, people who call themselves liberals, who are subscribing to an ideology that is the opposite of the spirit of our founding documents, then they are on the wrong and, yes, bad side of things. Now, I'll give you all the time to talk about security and Obama. What makes you think you're a liberal? Define your liberalism.
I know that I'm a liberal because I am actually pro-gay marriage. I am not a gay man, but I think
that does not make you a liberal, sir.
Not only that, I believe that the government, nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the government cannot help out its people. And I honestly believe that there are those that...
Well, I didn't hear that part. You believe the government can ignore the Constitution?
No. I said that nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the government cannot help out its citizens.
It absolutely does.
Where does it say that?
The government limits. The federal government is only allowed to operate in the scope of the enumerated powers. If it's not in the enumerated powers, the 10th Amendment calls for whatever power is desired to be held by the states. So if it's not there, they can't do it. That's why it's not in the Constitution.
If the government reaches out to the citizens who are less fortunate in this country...
They don't have that power.
What I'm trying to tell you is that if the government reaches out to those who are less fortunate in this country, that is not anti-American.
But it's unconstitutional, which makes it anti-American.
It is not anti-American for a government wanting to help out its less fortunate.
Yes, it is, because where does it get the resources to do that from?
But what you're doing is you're distorting the Constitution to fit you.
No, I'm not, sir. Sir, Article 1, Section 8 defines what the Congress, which writes the tax law, is allowed to write tax law for. There are 17 enumerated powers. Anything else is not in the power of the federal government. If the government is taking money from one person to give to another person, it's not the government's money that they're giving. The government doesn't have its own money. It only has the money that it takes from the taxpayer. What they're allowed to take from the taxpayer is part of the enumerated powers. So I'm not twisting the... No, hold on, Joe. I am not twisting the Constitution. I can read each one of the enumerated powers to you. Not one of them empowers the federal government to take wealth from one person to give to another person.
So basically what you're saying is that even though there's Medicare and Medicaid and some of those programs help out our older citizens in their golden years, that's un-American? That's the point you're trying to make here?
You're trying to say that it's American to be unconstitutional, and I will disagree.
No.
Well, these programs, sir, you're acting as if the federal government doesn't run these programs, they would all go away and the states wouldn't run their own versions.
Well, Medicare and Medicaid are not state funded, and
because the federal government has violated its role.
So again, my question to you is this: is it un-American to help out our older citizens in their golden years
It's un-American for the federal government to do it. Yes.
That's part of the problem here.
No, it's not part of the problem, sir. Have you ever sat down and read the Constitution as it said verbatim, not taught to you by a college professor? Have you, Joe from Texas, opened up the Constitution and read it for yourself?
I believe...
Have you read the Constitution? So you have not read it. You have no idea what you're talking about, and you're calling me to tell me that I'm saying things that are un-American. Goodbye. Thanks for the call. I have not read it, but I know what it says. Well, apparently you don't. Because the government, again, here it is. That's the problem. He believes because there's benevolent intent that a constitutional violation is acceptable because of benevolent intent. That it's not socialism if it's benevolent. It's not communism if it's benevolent. So long as benevolence rules the day, any respect to the limits of government go out the window. If the government says, we don't want the freedom of speech anymore because people are offended at some of the things you say, that's benevolence. We believe we have the right to house the homeless in your home. That's benevolence. We believe we have the right to determine what procedures your doctor is allowed to perform on you. That's benevolence. Joe, do yourself a favor. Go out and read the Constitution. You can download it for free. It's not copyrighted. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. This is the next generation of great talk radio. Say it with me. We're right. They're wrong. That's the end of the story. Sirius Patriot 144.